Psychopaths, very peculiar human beings. No wonder you're interested in them. After spending years around them, you come to some incredible conclusions. But I have to have a bit of a pre-warning. The information that I'm about to give is not from a book, but it comes from real-life interaction. And if you ever want to deal with psychopaths, there is a certain industry that you can join. Now, a lot of people, especially the ones who study them, they go into psychology. However, a psychopath would not do psychology himself. Where I was able to find countless is in the world of sales/business. There's two types of salespeople: psychopaths or incredibly well-meaning human beings. You're talking the most sensational ones, the most kind-hearted, loving. But how do you know the difference? These are the conclusions. So the basic terminology of people when they try to assess the world with something or assimilate it comes up with the all-American psycho type of person. Now, I have to start off with the number one thing. They don't have to be evil. As long as it benefits them, they're more than happy to help you. A psychopath can change your life, even enrich you, as long and as much as it improves theirs. They're self-interested, interesting beings, nor are they directed towards the evil, but at the same time you can't necessarily regard them as good. Now, because of the movies, and you do have the examples of psychopaths who've committed the worst traumatic things you've ever seen, of course we tend to regard them as bad. But after being in the normal human life, you have been there for some time, you realize it's not all black and white. They're not good. They don't have to be bad. They just are living in a way to best soothe their interests. However, the ways in which they can do that, people may regard them as maleficent, but factually speaking, they bend and twist reality to their way. What I mean by that is obviously number two, lying. So a lot of people call them masters manipulators, but I'm gonna try to put it in a better word to not necessarily do them disservice. I'm going to say they adjust. Now, the actual terminology would be they manipulate, but I'm going to change it just so you can understand better. So they adjust the world in such a way so they can get what they want. Whether that's twisting reality through warping their words, whether that's creating stitches between human beings, gossip, so they can cause conflicts that would benefit them. Such a strategy would go as such. Oi, Jake, did you hear what Lawrence did? What did Lawrence do, Daniel? He said this about Laura. Did he? What a dumbass. What a dickhead. Yeah, right? Whereas in the meantime, Lawrence may just be freaking having a conversation with Laura. But when Jake meets Lawrence, what does Jake do? Oh, what a fucking dickhead. You treat women like such a bad, evil human being. That causes conflict, in which if these three men are in a certain competition, it obviously benefits the psychopath. Now, is that bad? Well, it's open to interpretation. What's bad? What's good to you? Whether that's getting what you want, it may work. Is one a terrible human being for having doing it? Like I said, the world isn't black nor is it white. But is your philosophy to not violate the rights of others? Then yes, it's an incredibly manipulative way of dealing with people. So see, how perspective can lead things to either being bad or good. And that's why you get shows like the Game of Thrones. That's why it's been so successful. Because it distracts the philosophy of good and bad, of the hero versus the villain. Who could say who was good and who was bad in Game of Thrones? Now you obviously have people rooted a bit more towards the good and a bit more rooted towards the bad, but in the end, it's very much open to interpretation. Jaime Lannister, for all the watchers, is he good or is he bad? Some people may regard him as a hero, and at the same time, he can even be a terrible, terrible villain. Now that's more or less a psychopath. If it benefits them, whether the cause that they're doing is good or bad, it makes not much difference to them. But to the other world, they can regard him as, obviously worship him as a hero. And that's fair enough. If that person has changed the life of many other people, he should be. At the same time, if he uses those strategies of whatever, dealing, manipulating, influencing, persuading people, yes, they can regard him as an evil person. To the actual psychopath, it doesn't really matter. So to answer your question, how do you know if you're dealing with one? How can you spot one? Realize, it's very, very hard. If you haven't spent time around them, it's almost impossible, because they're highly intelligent beings. They analyze, they think from a different perspective without even including emotions, because they're not emotional beings. And that's fair enough. That's why you see psychopaths in great positions of power, whether that's business, whether that's sales. You've even had presidents, Donald Trump. They are hyper successful. Now, their qualities or ways of achieving it may be mischievous. Yet again, I know I said it before, but is it good or is it bad? Whether that's success you want, well, but what about if you want the higher good? That's a question for you to ask. And funny thing, before I do get into the last bit, if you're spending enough time surrounded by these individuals, can you become it? Yes, you absolutely and utterly can. How do I know? It's a true fact that someone can become a criminal if he's associated with crime long enough. Whereas if one is associated with psychopaths or these traits long enough, he can indeed be transformed into one. Now, whether then, if you would like to call him sociopath because he's been turned into that type of person by trauma, he still has the same characteristics. Describe it as you will, the same person. Detaching yourself from the word, it still is as it is. How to spot them? You're getting into the final game, but that's how you do it. You see how they act when no one's watching. Once the people are away, their way of being, they don't have to, whether that's the word, manipulate, they don't have to perform, they don't have to persuade. They can just be as they are, which is stone cold. You'll see a psychopath going from, way, amazing, see you, have a fantastic day. Whereas a normal person would go, have a fantastic day. Oh, that was a good laugh. Haven't laughed that long in so long. See the difference? Remorseless, detached, unemotional. Now that's a funny thing, because these traits, you can call them qualities or defects. But if you use them, they're very much designed to successful people as well. Now, I'm not saying become a psychopath. I do not mean that. What I simply mean is that they are not the type of whatever you've seen in the movies, They are just individuals that you meet around you every day. You may or may not know that you are, yet they're there. But now you can spot them. And the reason it's important is because bottom line, at the end of the day, you know that no matter how they put it, no matter how they say it, no matter how they make you feel, it's about them benefiting themselves. And then again, I'm not saying to not cooperate, whether that's them having a very big thing going on. If it turns out to be profitable to you, why not? But just know it benefits them, so they will help you as much as you provide value to them. But don't expect them to do it just for the good and sake of it, because that's not them. Fascinating, eh? The fact that people aren't just like you are. People are different, and we should of course see it and adapt and view it as it is, view it as they are. Now, this is how they are, not how you see it, but how they are backstage. But now that you have equipped yourself with some more armor of knowledge, you should hit the world as a better, smarter individual.